Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame Satyamayi Parame Satyamayi Parame Satyam Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda. So the very word guru, it means something that is heavy with light. Like if you look at its etymology, it means something that is heavy and laden, like a cloud of light, heavy with light, ready to fall on whoever's ready to receive it. And in Sri Aurobindo's Integral Yoga, he says, your guru, the guru in Integral Yoga is the Jagat Guru, seated at the heart of all creation, unfolding the Veda from within. So, in Integral Yoga and Sri Aurobindo's Integral Yoga, the Guru is something that is seated inside you as the deepest and highest in you, and yet we are constantly regarding them as Sri Aurobindo as Gurudev. So why are we doing that? Because Mother and Sri Aurobindo, in our belief, are a direct descent of God consciousness down to earth. So it's like Mother always says, I am always with you because I am you. Mother is the Jagat Guru seated within our heart. Then what is this body that we are seeing outside? So it's like what Mirabai writes in one of her bhajans. She's telling Krishna that, Krishna, I know you're the infinite blue of the sky, but in your infinite mercy, you know that I can't connect with you as the blue of the sky. So the blue of the sky took the form of this body so that I could connect with you. So Mother is the Adi Shakti, who is eternal, universal, but she herself said that I took 900 years on the occult planes to create a body by which I could be seen on earth. So it's the same presence which is inside us, which takes the form of the Gurus and comes to us to take us back home to the presence which is inside us. So in our yoga, in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, we have to remember that even when we are connecting with them outside, the Gurus outside this body, they are really there to guide us to the Guru which is within us, which is not different from them. So we keep that in mind as we come to our PDF. I haven't sent it, I'll just send it. Okay. So the word guru means one who is very, very heavy. A heavy cloud just waiting for your thirst to pour down. A flower heavy with perfume, just waiting for your nostrils to be there and it will penetrate. The word guru means heavy, very heavy with energy, and the unknown heavy with the divine, heavy like a woman who is pregnant. A master is pregnant with God. The guru, the master, is pregnant with God. That's why in the East we call the guru God itself. The West cannot understand it because they think God means the creator of the world. We don't bother much with the creator here. We call the guru God. Why? Because he is full of the divine. He is heavy with the divine. He is ready to pour down only your thirst. A thirsty earth is needed. Aspiration is needed for the rain of grace to come down. When a disciple with total trust bows down at the feet of his master, something is happening here which is not visible to the eye. An energy is falling from the master, entering the disciple. Something invisible to the eyes is happening. If you become aware, you can see it also, the aura of the master, his rainbow pouring himself down into the disciple. You will see it in fact happening. So when the mother first met Sri Aurobindo, when she came by ship to Pondicherry, we all know that she sensed he was so heavy with the divine that she sensed his aura while she was on the ship 10 nautical miles away. And we know that she said that so long as one being like this exists, even if the whole of the rest of the world is full of this chaos and monstrosity, we are saved. And when she was in Sri Aurobindo's presence, we all know that his presence blanked her mind. She said, I experienced a silence, the kind I had never experienced before. And Sri Aurobindo immediately recognized her to be the Divine Mother, and he said, I've never seen a surrender in anyone. She was called Madam Meera those days. I've never seen a surrender of this kind in anyone before. So it was a mutual exchange of divinity between them. One can't say either was the other's guru because they are spiritual collaborators. Neither one was the disciple of the other. Rather, we regard them as a two-bodied single avatar. One avatar which had come in two bodies because the work of evolution they came to do was so difficult that two bodies were required. So, if you ask me what a guru is, I will tell you the guru is the address of God. And the address of God is the address of your truth, because you are God. Each one of us is God. But the guru is the one who makes the unconscious God that I am conscious God. Then you can be certain that you have been accepted when you can feel the Master's blessings pouring on you, showering you like flowers. You can be certain emancipation is at hand. So it's often said that we don't choose our guru chooses us. So Sri Aurobindo says those who choose the infinite are first chosen by the infinite. So it's not really our choice. Our guru chooses us, calls to us, and we simply respond. So each of us, every time we have perhaps recognized something when we are or the first time, a mother says in my yoga, my initiation is the first time you can recognize who I am. So the first time any of us recognized something about the mother, some call, some response. It was our initiation. The moment we recognize the mother, I mean, we can go to the samadhi, and for eyes who have only external vision, it's just a marble slab. But if we touch it and we feel something and we respond and we recognize the divinity there, that recognition is our initiation by the gurus into the yoga. So, I'm largely speaking about the guru in the context of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. It's very specific to integral yoga. I'm not speaking about guru in a general parlance. So, this is further. It happened, one of the Buddha's disciples, Shariputra, one day bowed down at the Buddha's feet. This is a general story about the Buddha and his disciple, but I'll come back to Guru in the language of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. One day bowed down at Buddha's feet. Suddenly he felt the energy falling on him. That's it. When you connect with a guru, you don't have to do anything. You're just there and the guru's energy does all the work. That's the grace of the guru. So he felt the energy falling on him. He felt a sudden transformation, a mutation of his whole mind, as if he was being destroyed and created again. He cried, "No, wait a little." The whole assembly of Buddha's disciples could not understand what was happening. And he said, "Wait a little, not so soon." The Buddha said, "But why?" He said, "Then these feet will be lost to me. Wait a little. Emancipation, freedom is at hand, and I would like to be with you a little longer. Don't push me away so soon." So, such is the love for the Guru. The Guru is giving him liberation, and he says, "But if I get liberated, then liberation is kevalya, no? Onlyness. Kevalya, onlyness. There's one without a second. So I won't have a heart to adore the Guru." So he's saying, wait. Shariputra became enlightened later on. The Buddha told him, "Now you go. I waited enough. Now you go and spread whatever I have given you. Go and give it to others." Shariputra had to go, weeping and crying. Somebody asked, "You have become enlightened and you weep and cry?" He said, "Yes, I have become enlightened, but I can throw away the bliss of enlightenment if Buddha allows me to live at his feet." Such is the love for the Guru, such deep gratitude. And then wherever Shariputra lived, every day in the morning, he would bow down to the direction where he knew Buddha was moving. And people asked him again and again, "Why do you do this? To whom do you bow down?" He said, "Buddha is moving in the south." When the last days of Shariputra came, he inquired, "Where is the Buddha right now? Because I would like to die bowing down in that direction." And he died bowing down in the direction where the Buddha was. When the energy is received, when the final benediction comes from the Master, the emancipation is at hand. One has to say goodbye. So now we come to Letters on the Mother by Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo says, "To practice yoga implies the will to overcome all attachments and turn to the divine alone." The divine alone is the Guru in your heart. To turn to that alone to overcome all attachments. The principal thing in yoga is to trust in the divine grace at every step, to direct the thought continually to the divine, and to offer oneself till the being opens and the mother's force can be felt working in the Aadhar. So he's saying to practice yoga, one has to work to overcome attachment and trust not in things outside us, but in the divine grace alone. All things are the divine because the divine is there, but hidden, not manifest. So each of us seated here is the divine, but it's unmanifest divine. When the mind goes out to things, it is not with the sense of the divine in them, but for the appearances only which conceal the divine. So if I'm attached to a person, I'm not thinking that A is God, so I'm attached to him. I'm attached to him because of the way maybe A makes me feel, because of certain qualities in A, etc., etc. So it is necessary, therefore, for you as a sadhak to turn entirely to the mother in whom the divine is manifest. So clear and beautiful. Let's understand what Sri Aurobindo is saying. Sri Aurobindo is saying that suppose I'm attached to Prarthana because I like certain qualities of hers, but she's the unmanifest divine. And when I'm attached to the unmanifest divine, there'll be desire, there'll be attachment. But Mother is a human form, but manifest divine, because there's nothing actually mortal about her. She's not really been mortal ever since she was a child. If we read her stories from childhood, she was something extraordinary. She was born, she once writes, I was born free. Imagine saying that. I was born free, I've never been attached. And she says when she was hardly 5 or 6, she could feel this beautiful light pressing down on her head. And she says she would just sit, and when she would feel that, everything else would fall away. So she was born free. So he's saying it is therefore necessary for you as a sadhak to turn entirely to the mother in whom the divine is manifest, and not run after the appearances, the desire of which or the interest in which prevents you from meeting the divine. We are so attached to the external appearance of the world, and let's face it, God is not even for many of us, I'm not saying for every one of us, but for many of us, He's not even a secondary or a tertiary priority. We'll fulfill everything else, and then in one little corner of our life, I'll think of God. But of course, when we are young, we need to experience the world before God becomes primary. But eventually, we'll suffer much and come to this understanding that God is primary. And the most important relationship in our life is our relationship with the divine within us. Not even something external, not an alien power, but the deepest and highest inside us. And see, when Sri Aurobindo is saying turn entirely to the mother's form directly helps you to connect with your deepest. She spent 900 years, the Adi Shakti spending 900 years creating a very special form and body, right? There's a purpose to it. It helps you to connect with her presence inside you. So, it is necessary, therefore, for you as a sadhak to turn entirely to the mother in whom the divine is manifest, and not run after appearances, the desire of which or the interest in which prevents you from meeting the divine. Once the being is consecrated, then it can see the divine everywhere, and then it can include all things in the one consciousness without separate interest or desire. So I know there are a lot of young people here, and maybe you'll feel a revolt against this, which is understandable, because at your age, your friendships, your relationships are important. And Mother's not saying, or Sri Aurobindo is not saying to not give importance to those relationships, but to give more importance to your relationship with the friend inside you, the friend who's available to you 24/7. Others will, see, Mother said, understand one fact of life: the best of humanity at some point or the other will let you down. It's not their fault. They are designed to be like that. You've let down somebody at some point or the other. It's not your fault. It's how we are designed. So Mother says, in the final analysis, no human being can be your anchor. Only the divine is for you if you are for the divine. And if you're anchored in the divine and then you love people, they don't have the power to hurt you, because you're not drawing your sort of life springs from how good or bad they are to you. You are anchored in the divine, you're anchored in the joy inside you, you're drinking from there, and then you're enjoying people, but you're not dependent on them for fulfilling you, for making you feel special, for making you feel happy. The moment we depend on people to make us happy, they'll surely make us unhappy, because they are not designed to make us happy. We can enjoy them, but they cannot be the life spring and source of our happiness. So, once the being is consecrated, then it can see the divorce. So there's a very lovely story, and it challenges everything that our conditioning tells us about relationships. So there was one person, he was a Parsi gentleman from Bombay, K.D. Setna. So once he bought shoes which were wrapped up in a newspaper, and he threw away the paper. The paper hit him, and there was an article on Sri Aurobindo, and he read it, and he went to Pandi, and he never came back. So, and Sri Aurobindo and the mother gave him the name Amal Kiran, the eternal ray. He was very, very close to them, wonderful poet, and you should read his poetry, you'll love it. So, he had a wife, Sarah, who had some relative. They were both in Pondicherry, and Sarah, some relative in Bombay, was very sick in the hospital, and they asked the mother's permission that can Sarah go to Bombay, and mother said, I would rather she didn't. Now it's a tough call to take. Your loved one is in hospital, they expect you to come, and on this side mother saying that I'd rather you didn't go. And well, when you're living in the physical presence of a guru, there's another kind of magic they weave over you. So Sarah didn't go. It's tough, but she didn't go, and sure enough, the relative recovered very soon. And mother said that I'm so glad you surrendered to me, because you stayed here. My force could act directly on your relative. If you had gone, my force would have been diluted acting through you. So sometimes when the divine tells us to do something and we don't understand the rationale behind it, we say, this is cruel. How can you keep me away from the loved one? But it's the action of a different kind of love which we don't understand. So sometimes when our loved ones are in pain, instead of just rushing to them, I'm saying you should be with them, but sometimes there's sense in getting back your wholeness, praying for them, sending them the light and force of your prayers, rather than just flapping around and getting nervous inside them. That often doesn't help. So now this is a piece by Sri Aurobindo called Spiritual Possibility Due to the Mother's Presence. Certainly very few seem to realize what a possibility has been given them here. All that has been turned into an opportunity for the bubbling of the vital or the tamas of the physical, rather than used for the intended psychic and spiritual growth. I was not speaking of any particular thing, but the whole spiritual possibility due to the mother's presence here. He's saying humanity doesn't understand the huge possibility of spiritual growth that is being offered to them by the very fact of the mother walking on earth. It takes me to one story. I think I've said it before, just to show you what possibilities she opens for us. So I once had an ex-student whose boyfriend was into a lot of drugs, and she wanted him, she was very connected to Mother and Sri Aurobindo, and she wanted to bring him here. But he wouldn't come, so she told him, I'm taking you to a literature reading. So he came, and for some reason he connected with whatever was said, and he started coming regularly. He started doing a lot of work on himself, and one day decided to quit drugs. But children fund their drug habits by becoming drug dealers. We know that. So he'd become a drug dealer, and one day when he was on the road, one of the persons he was working with attacked him, and there was blood, and because they don't like you to get out of their circuit. So he said whenever he thinks of this person R who had attacked him, he feels a rage which drives him nuts. And we did whatever we could, but we couldn't help him. Then we go once a year to Pandi, so we went to Pandi. It was his first trip there, and he was sitting at the Samadhi, and he's just looking into the air. He's talking to the mother, look, they have a lot of faith in you. I don't even know whether you exist, but if you exist, help me with this. I can't contain the rage I'm feeling when I think of R. Help me with this. And he said that, and something fell on his shoulder. Maybe it fell from the service tree, but he couldn't find anything. But something went like this on his shoulder, and he got up and he said, I haven't had one moment of rage like it's R didn't exist for me. Since that moment, R did not exist for me. That whole chapter of drugs was closed for him. Because see, any negativity gets its hooks into us if it can generate negativity inside us. So if he had continued to feel that rage towards R, his energy link with that whole drug world would have been established, and something in it would have kept pulling him back. But the moment that whole energy of rage left him, it's like his energy with that past was cut. So, I mean, imagine here's a boy who doesn't even know the mother consciously, but just being at the Samadhi, that's the kind of spiritual possibility she opened, not just for him, but for everyone. And of course, never went back to drugs after that. In fact, Mother would, after that, of course, there was a period of back and forth, but one day when he was about to take his puff, he'd opened, you know, I give you all those seeds of light, so he opened that. He asked, should I take it or no? So when he opened, what did he read? Higher, ever higher, never stop till you're content. So he was so amused that of course he didn't have it. So that God, now further from Letters on Yoga by Sri Aurobindo, that God himself is the Guru you will find when knowledge comes to you. You will see how every little circumstance within you and without you has been subtly planned. When you discover the Guru inside you, you will see how every little circumstance within you and without you, outside you, has been subtly planned and brought about by infinite wisdom to carry out the natural process of the yoga. How the internal and external movements are arranged and brought together to work on each other so as to work out the imperfection and work in the perfection. So the more you open to the grace within you, less, a lot of humanity struggles with flabbergasted, why did this happen to me? Why is this happening to me? Why is that going to happen? But the more you open to grace, you just know from within why everything's happening. And then you don't have a quarrel with anything. You understand how everything was planned, how every struggle, every pain was planned, and you were given just enough pain that was good for your growth, not more than that. And you start seeing that, how the internal and external movements are arranged and brought together to work on each other so as to work out the imperfection and work in the perfection. And almighty love and wisdom are at work for your uplifting. See, this is something to remember. An almighty love and wisdom, all-powerful love and wisdom are at work for your evolution and your uplifting. Therefore, never be troubled by the time that is being taken, even if it seems very long. But when imperfections and obstructions arise, be apramata. Apramata is don't have negligence, be vigilant, be conscious, dhira, patient, and have utsa, enthusiasm, and leave God to do the rest. So when obstacles arrive, be apramata, without negligence, dhira, patient, and utsa, aspiration, enthusiasm, and leave God to do the rest. Time is necessary. It is a tremendous work that is being done in you. The alteration of your whole human nature into a divine nature. The crowding of centuries of evolution into a few years. You ought not to grudge the time. So Mother and Sri Aurobindo have come to take evolution forward. That's what every avatar comes to do. What would normally take thousands of years, because of their descent, will be done in 200-300 years. So without them, what I would cover in lifetimes, when I'm with them, I cover in this lifetime. So that's what he's saying. It is a tremendous work that is being done in you. The alteration of your whole human nature into a divine nature. The crowding of centuries of evolution into a few years. You ought not to grudge the time. Your ship is Brahma Vidya. You're going through the sea of life. What is your ship? Brahma Vidya. Knowledge that all is God, Brahman. Faith is your steering wheel. Self-surrender, your compass. So it's a metaphor. You're going through the stormy sea of life, knowing that everything in the sea is also God, Brahma Vidya. That's your ship. Faith is your steering wheel. When you don't know where to go, which way to go, you fall back on your faith. That I don't know, but the Guru inside me knows. And if he knows, I'm good. Self-surrender, your compass. The motive power is she who makes, directs, and destroys the worlds at God's commands. She is the Adi Shakti. And God himself is your captain. So beautiful. Your ship is Brahma Vidya. God is your captain. Faith is your steering wheel. Self-surrender is your compass. But he has his own way of working and his own time for everything. He doesn't do it in my time frame or in ways that are convenient for me. He does it in his own way. And self-surrender means your way, not my way. Mother says somewhere so beautifully, the supreme secret is to make your will one with the divine will. Very I mean, it's an ideal. So long as we are living in the field of desire, very difficult, but because the desires all the time want our will to come true. But she says the supreme secret is to make your will one with the divine will. And that beautiful poem of Sri Aurobindo, fear not if it storms and thunders, the captain of your ship holds the rudder well, he never sleeps. The captain never sleeps, so even if you fall asleep, he's steering your ship even in your unconsciousness. And somewhere in Savitri there's a beautiful line, even through the mists of mortal thought, infallible are thy mysterious steps. Even if my mortal thinking is confused, it's misty, I don't know anything, I'm lost. But even through that mist, the steps, the guiding steps of the Jagat Guru in your heart, infallible, perfect, accurate, are thy mysterious steps. So, further Sri Aurobindo says, as the supreme Shastra, Shastra is the Veda, the literature, as the supreme Shastra of the integral yoga, is the eternal Veda secret in the heart of every man, so the supreme guide and teacher is the inner guide, the world teacher, Jagat Guru, secret within us. What a marvelous sentence. I'm reading it again. As the supreme Shastra of the integral yoga is the eternal Veda, secret in the heart of every man. So it's interesting, somewhere in the Upanishads it's written that if you take all the wisdom of the Upanishads on one side and the wisdom of the Veda in the human heart, the latter will exceed the former. The Upanishads themselves are saying that if you take all our wisdom on one side and compare it to the wisdom of the Veda in the human heart, the wisdom of the Veda in the human heart will be more than the Upanishads. So, as the supreme Shastra of the integral yoga is the eternal Veda secret in the heart of every man, so its supreme guide and teacher is the inner guide, the world teacher, Jagat Guru, secret within us. It is he who destroys our darkness by the resplendent light of his knowledge. That light becomes within us the increasing glory of his own self-revelation. So this Jagat Guru within us destroys our darkness by the resplendent light of his knowledge. That light becomes within us the increasing glory of his own self-revelation. So as our darkness gets destroyed, more and more this Guru is revealed to us from within us, that we are this Guru inside. He discloses progressively in us his own nature of freedom, bliss, love, power, immortal being. So on our surface, we are the opposite of all this. We don't feel free, we feel bound. We don't feel bliss, we feel unhappy. We feel unloved, we feel weak, we feel mortal. But deep inside, where we are one with the Guru, we are all this: freedom, bliss, love, power, immortal being. And the Guru himself from within reveals this to us. He sets above us his divine example as our ideal and transforms the lower existence into a reflection of that which it contemplates. So when we contemplate the mother inside us, slowly that contemplation changes our lower existence of unhappiness, feeling bound, feeling trapped, into a reflection of what it contemplates. See, the mother says it again and again, you're seeing my form, but please don't think I am this form. This form shows you a very small part of who I am. Really, she is the Adi Shakti, Satchidanand, the bliss of existence. So by contemplating on that, slow, and this is our experience. Very often we are feeling so lackluster, so down, and we just, a personal sharing, there was one time in my life when something was going very wrong with somebody I loved, and it was really weighing me down, and I was feeling miserable the whole day. And that's when something inside me said, just see Mother's face in your heart and take 108 deep breaths. So I would do that, and suddenly the pain would go away. I would come out of those 108 breaths and no pain. After 2 hours, the pain would come back. So as soon as it would come back, I would again sit 108 breaths. So I did it every 2 hours, and in maybe 1 or 2 days, the whole low feeling was gone. And the way Mother works is, if you really shift inside, the outside shifts. The moment I settled, outside also it started settling. So that is what, when you contemplate the Mother inside you, you start becoming what you're contemplating, because you're not just contemplating a face, you're contemplating the joy of existence, the peace behind, you're contemplating all that. So Amal Kiran writes in one of his most beautiful poems that forgive us if we forget, I'm not saying the exact words, how you toiled for ages to light the lamp of your face. Because her face is really a lamp. How you toiled for ages to light for humanity the lamp of your face. And when we hold that lamp inside us and we contemplate it, we start growing into what we are contemplating.
Is it you are expecting something when you pray or something?
So what if you are?
So like then you are not disappointed because you are expecting that from the divine.
Huh.
Right?
Right.
So that is a okay way, or
So you're praying to the Mother for something.
and you are expecting something, though we have surrendered, but back of your thing.
Yeah, so if I'm praying to Mother for something, I have not surrendered. It's
Yes.
okay. But it's okay. I know Mother, my desire is too strong, and I'm not in a state of surrender, but I want this. If you feel it's good for me, give it to me. And if you don't feel it's good for me, Varun, get her a chair, please. And if you don't feel it's good for me, then give me the grace to accept it. We mustn't insist that, Mother, I have to get this. Then if we insist like that, sometimes we'll get it and we'll suffer. And sometimes Mother has to give it to us to show us that you asked for the wrong thing. Varun, get her no a chair. Okay. Okay, so by the inpouring of His own influence and presence into us, He enables the individual being to attain to identity with the universal and transcendent. The full recognition of this inner guide, master of the yoga, Lord, light, enjoyer, the goal of all sacrifice and effort, is of the utmost importance in the path of integral perfection. It is immaterial whether he is first seen as an impersonal wisdom. For the Jnani, the Lord is seen as an impersonal wisdom, love and power behind all things, as an absolute manifesting in the relative and attracting it. That's Zen. Zen talks about the ultimate dimension manifesting as the phenomenal dimension. So it's different languages. As one's highest self and the highest self of all, as a divine person within us and in the world, in one of his or her numerous forms and names, or as the ideal which the mind conceives. In the end, we perceive that he is all and more than all these things together. The mind's, so God is all these and more. The mind's door of entry to the conception of him must necessarily vary according to the past evolution and present nature. So each one will have a different door of entry to the divine within us, and that will be determined by our past and our present. So Sri Aurobindo says, in my integral yoga, there are as many paths as there are sadhaks. Each sadhak carves his own path to reach me, and each path is fine. This inner guide is often veiled at first by the very intensity of our personal effort, Sri Aurobindo says, and by the ego's preoccupation with itself and its aims. As we gain in clarity and the turmoil of egoistic effort gives place to a calmer self-knowledge, we recognize the source of growing light within us. See, the greatest dimmer, the thing that dims our inner light is our ego. When the ego is in front, the light of the self withdraws. When our ego dims, the light of the real self comes forward. So, if we turn to the mother out of egoism, that I'm turning to you so that you make me spiritually great, so that you give me what I want, that very egoistic hankering after the mother will keep her away from us. Because mother says it beautifully, if I were to pander to your ego, I'd be a traitor to your soul. And mother is always faithful to our soul. She can't be faithful to the ego. That's betraying us. So as we again gain in clarity and the turmoil of egoistic effort gives place to a calmer self-knowledge, we recognize the source of the growing light within us. We recognize it retrospectively as we realize how all our obscure and conflicting movements have been determined towards an end that we only now begin to perceive. How even before our entrance in the path of yoga, the evolution of our life had been designedly led towards its turning point. So we feel we met mother the moment we met her consciously, but actually when she's chosen us, she's been guiding everything in our life till the decisive moment when we get initiated into her. When we recognize who she is, that's our initiation. But she's been looking after us even before, we just didn't know it. So I remember when I was very young, I didn't know the mother consciously at all, and my relationship with God was in fire temples. I didn't know about the mother. But I remember when I was feeling a little low about something and I went to sleep, I had a dream that a black animal was chasing me and I'm running away from it. And then suddenly I see high up a lady clothed fully in white with a veil on her face, and she's holding something in her hand. And in my dream, she's like a magnet and I'm like iron filings. I'm just being pulled towards her. I remember thinking in my dream, I'm not walking towards her. How am I I remember thinking like that. And I remember thinking that that lady has a gift for me. But before I could receive the gift, my eyes opened. I didn't know who she was, but I know that it was the mother. Even when I didn't consciously know her, she was there. So, We recognize this divine leading afterwards, not retrospectively, but immediately in the molding of our thoughts by a transcendent seer, of our will and actions by an all-embracing power, of our emotional life by an all-attracting and all-assimilating bliss and love. We recognize it too in a more personal relation that from the first touched us or at the last seizes us. We feel the eternal presence of the Supreme Master, friend, lover, teacher. We recognize it in the essence of our being as that develops into likeness and oneness with a greater and wider existence. For we perceive that this miraculous development is not the result of our own efforts. An eternal perfection is molding us in its own image. What a marvelous line. An eternal perfection is molding us in its own image. The eternal perfection is perfect, but it's working on us to mold us into its own image of perfection. An eternal perfection is molding us into its own image. One who is the Lord or Ishwar of the yogic philosophies, the guide in the conscious being, Chaitya Guru or Antaryami, the inner controller, the absolute of the thinker, the unknowable of the agnostic, the universal force of the materialist, the supreme soul, the supreme Shakti, the one who is differently named and imaged by the religions, is the master of our yoga. So he says this again and again. In integral yoga, God is your guru. And even if we take them as our guru, they are a sort of materialized form of God. That through this image we connect with the God which is inside us. To be conscious of Him in all parts of our being and equally in all that the dividing mind sees as outside our being is the consummation of the individual consciousness. So Sri Aurobindo is saying to be conscious of Him, the Jagat Guru, the divine, in all parts of our being and equally in all that the dividing mind sees as outside our being. So to be conscious of Him in this earth, in the air, in each being is the consummation of the individual consciousness. To be possessed by Him and possess Him in ourselves and in all things is the term of all empire and mastery. To enjoy Him in all experience of passivity and activity, of peace and of power, of unity and of difference, is the happiness which the jiva, the individual soul manifested in the world, is obscurely seeking. So each jiva, the individual soul, is seeking God. But we don't know this. So our seeking gets distorted into desire for this or that. So a poet once beautifully wrote, every desire is an excuse for God. We actually want our God self, but we don't know how to reach it. So we are desiring this and we are desiring that. This is the entire definition of the aim of integral yoga. It is the rendering and personal experience of the truth which universal nature has hidden in herself and which she travails to discover. It is a conversion of the human soul into the divine soul and of natural life into divine living. Further, Sri Aurobindo says, there is nothing unintelligible, means something which you can't understand, in what I say about strength and grace. Somebody asked him that should we achieve through the strength of our tapasya or should we depend on grace? Strength has a value for spiritual realization, but to say that it can be done by strength only and by no other means is a violent exaggeration. Grace is not an invention. It is a fact of spiritual experience. So beautiful. Grace is a fact of spiritual experience. See, when that boy who was into drugs, did he use strength and tapasya to get rid of a whole dark past? No, it was just an act of grace. One touch of grace, something falling on his shoulder, and the whole past was gone. So grace is not an invention, it is a fact of spiritual experience. Strength, if it is spiritual, is a power for spiritual realization. A greater power is sincerity. The greatest power of all is grace. So he's saying strength is a power in spirituality. Sincerity is even greater than strength. But the greatest of all these is grace. I have said times without number that if a man is sincere, he will go through in spite of long delay and overwhelming difficulties. I have repeatedly spoken of divine grace. I have referred any number of times to the line of the Gita, I will deliver you from all sin and evil, do not grieve. Sarva dharman parityajya. The famous, it's the Uttamam Rahasya of the Gita, right? The secret of secrets which Krishna gives Arjun. Sarva dharman. Dharma are things that hold you, different ways of being. Sarva dharman parityajya. Pari is fully, tyajya renounce. So give away all the ways of overthinking and whatever that hold you in your prison of mind. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam, to me alone. Mam is to me, ekam, to me alone. Sharanam, refuge, vraja, come. Mam ekam sharanam vraja, come to me alone for refuge. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo, I will liberate you from all your sense of negativity and sin. Ma shucha. That's the biggest promise of grace. Such a beautiful promise of grace in the Gita. And Krishna tells Arjun that my words to you, Arjun, are my words to humanity for lifetimes to come. So it's God's promise to each of us that abandon all the other things that bind you. Take refuge in me alone. I will liberate you from all your negativity and darkness. Do not grieve. Ma shucha. So, further Sri Aurobindo says, as for faith, faith in the spiritual sense is not a mental belief which can waver and change. Belief can waver and change. Today I can believe in God, tomorrow I may not, but faith never wavers. It can wear that form in the mind, but that belief is not faith itself. It is its external form. The external form of faith is belief in the mind. But faith is something that is the very fabric of the psychic being, the mother's presence inside you. That presence is made up of faith, so it can't change. That faith comes to the surface in your mind as a belief, and the mind can distort the belief to something positive or negative. Just as the body, the external form can change, but the spirit remains the same, so it is here. Faith is a certitude in the soul which does not depend on reasoning. There's a beautiful word coined for this faith, Kalyan Shraddha. Faith in the goodness of existence. Now, if you look at the Sanskrit breaking up of Shraddha, it's made up of two roots. Shraddha is truth and Dha is holding on to. So, Shraddha is holding on to your truth. Now, faith in English doesn't give us that sense, but that's the beauty of Sanskrit. Every word carries its own history and meaning. So it's a truth inside me, and the psychic being holds on to that truth. So faith is a certitude in the soul which does not depend on reasoning, on this or that mental idea, on circumstances, on this or that passing condition of the mind or the vital or the body. It may be hidden, eclipsed, may even seem to be quenched, but it reappears again after the storm or the eclipse. It is seen burning still in the soul when one has thought that it was extinguished forever. The mind may be a shifting sea of doubts, and yet that faith may be there within. And if so, it will keep even the doubt-racked mind in the way, so that it goes on in spite of itself towards its destined goal. So in Savitri, there's a line, a will prevails, cancelling his conscious choice. So it's referring to when the mind is very dark and negative, still there's a will and it's choosing to turn away from the light. The psychic has a will prevails, cancelling his conscious choice. So I remember I was once working with a teenager who was going through a very severe case of anorexia, and her one saving grace was from day one she was besotted by the mother from the time of going to Pondicherry, but otherwise her anorexia was really one of the worst cases I've seen. And but just to tell you that without going to any therapist, any counselor, just by holding on to mother, now she's completely well. But when she was in the thick of anorexia and she was feeling very dark, she used to come to my yoga classes in the evening, and of course for her it was a place to connect with the mother. And she called me and said, I'm not coming, I can't come. I tried to convince her, no, I'm not coming, because nothing likes to die. Even the darkness in you doesn't like to die. So it will stop you from going to anything that will kill it. When I reached the place, she was there. So I told her, how did you land up here? She's saying, Miss, I don't know what happened. I'm saying no, 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 but my legs are being carried to the door and I'm being brought here. So a will prevails, cancelling our conscious choice. So the mind may be a shifting sea of doubts, and yet that faith may be there within. And if so, it will keep even the doubt-racked mind in the way, so that it goes on in spite of itself towards its destined goal. Faith is a spiritual certitude of the spiritual, the divine, the soul's ideal, something that clings to that even when it is not fulfilled in life. So beautiful. Faith is a spiritual certitude, a certitude that God exists, and everything in my life is working out to an eventual good. That's a certitude within in the heart. Faith is a spiritual certitude of the spiritual, the divine, the soul's ideal, something that clings to that even when it is not fulfilled in life, even when life, everything's going wrong and I'm feeling, why is there no God? Why am I not being helped? Faith is a certitude inside, even when the immediate facts or the persistent circumstances seem to deny it. This is a common experience in the life of the human being. If it were not so, man would be a plaything of a changing mind or a sport of circumstances. The mind will keep taking you, believe today, don't believe today. But behind that, there is the solid anchor of faith in the psychic being. In the Gita also there's a line, Shraddha Mayoham Purusha. The very Purusha, the witness, the psychic, it's made up of faith. Faith makes it up. So, but the touch of grace, divine grace coming directly or through the Guru, is a special phenomenon having two sides to it. The grace of the Guru or the divine, in fact both together. On one side, and a state of grace in the disciple on the other. So when the two meet, that's Sri Aurobindo's triangle, the descending triangle symbol, the descending triangle, the grace of the Guru, ascending triangle, the response, the receptivity of the disciple, and where the two meet, the lotus of perfection blooms. The grace of the Guru or the divine, in fact both together on one side, and a state of grace in the disciple on the other. The state of grace is often prepared by a long tapasya or purification in which nothing decisive seems to happen, only touches or glimpses or passing experiences at most. It comes suddenly without warning. That's how it is with the Guru. You suddenly feel the touch without warning. Whenever there is a descent of the higher consciousness in the Aadhar, these are the four things that happen, Sri Aurobindo says. 1, part of it is stored up in the frontal consciousness and remains there. So part of it you feel a descent of light. Part of it goes behind and remains as a support to the active part of the being. Part of it flows out into the universal nature. So it's so beautiful. Every time we open to the Mother's grace, the grace through us flows out into the world. So in Savitri, there's that beautiful line when Ashwapati, Savitri's father, is with the Divine Mother. There's a line which says, she entered his heart and through his heart touched all sentient beings, because finally we are all one. Grace received by any one of us has to help the whole. So, I mean, I'm very happy our youth is taking up the cause, protesting, doing all that it is. It thrills me, but I wish that more of the youth like you came here, equipped themselves with the inner weapon and then fought the outer battles. It would be so much more of an effective battle. If they just connected within, if they channel that light and then let that light do the battling through them rather than just external action. So a part of it flows out into the universal nature. Part is absorbed by the inconscient and lost to the individual consciousness and its action. So most of Mother's action we are not conscious of. We are too unconscious to feel it. But so I keep telling you, I once took a lady to Pondicherry. She was a spinster. She just lost her mother. She was very depressed. So she came with us, and all the while she said, I'm feeling nothing here. This place is not for me. I said, I can bring you here. Can't do anything more. The rest is between you and the mother. But when we came back to Bombay, she told me within 3-4 days that, I told you I wasn't feeling anything. But ever since I've come back, I haven't had a day's depression. So Mother's force was working on her, but obviously she was not conscious enough to feel it. The force descends for two things. 1, to transform the nature. When the force descends, things in you change. 2, to carry out the work through the instrument, not just to change you. His yoga is for the change of the species, so that through you, the whole can be changed, so that you're used as an instrument in her work. At first, one is not conscious of either working. Afterwards, one becomes conscious of the force working, but not of how it works. Finally, so in the beginning, one is not conscious of the force working. Afterwards, we become conscious, we feel the force, but we don't know how it works. Eventually, you understand how it's working in you also. Okay, this is from Adventure of Consciousness by Satprem. Beautiful book. Really a beautiful book, a must read. So, to begin with, Satprem says, when peace feeling absolute silence is relatively well established in the mind. When our aspiration or our need has grown and become constant, haunting, like a hole we carry within us, we observe a first phenomenon with incalculable consequences for all the rest of our yoga. So he's saying, to begin with, when we connect with the mother, peace, feeling absolute silence is relatively well established in the mind. When our aspiration or need has grown and become constant, haunting, like a hole we carry within us, we observe a first phenomenon with incalculable consequences for all the rest of the yoga. We feel around the head, and more particularly in the nape of the neck, a kind of unusual pressure which may give a false sensation of a headache. So sometimes when we just sit with the mother's image in the heart, concentrating on her, suddenly we start feeling something pouring into us from above. That's what Satprem is talking about. At the beginning, we can hardly bear it for long and we shake it off, distract ourselves, or think of something else. Little by little, this pressure takes on a more distinct form. We actually feel a descending current, a current of force, not like an unpleasant electric current, but rather like a fluid mass. We then realize that the pressure or false headache of the beginning was caused simply by our own resistance to the descent of this force, and that the only thing to do is to not obstruct the passage by blocking the current in the head, but to let it descend into all strata of our being from top to bottom. This current is at first rather spasmodic. So when we start feeling this force coming into us, very often we revolt against it unconsciously. I remember when I had first started feeling it years ago, whenever it would come, I would start coughing. I would start feeling prickling. It's like the body can't take it. It has to be prepared to take it. And it's not just in meditation. Even when we are reading Mother and Sri Aurobindo, you'll notice there's a part of you which is drinking it in because it's nourishing a part of you. And a part of you is saying, put it away, do something else, don't read more. So we have so many parts of us, one part which is hungry for their light and one part which wants to keep the light out. And so Sri Aurobindo says this yoga can be done by the force, but if we say a full yes to it, all parts of our being don't say a yes to it, we withdraw our assent. So this current is at first rather spasmodic. The physical feeling is quite like that of walking in the wind. In fact, we do not realize its real effect until for one reason or another, distraction, mistake or excess, we cut ourselves away from the current. Then we suddenly find ourselves empty, shrunken, as though lacking oxygen, with a highly unpleasant impression of a physical shriveling. We are like an old apple whose sunshine and juice has been squeezed out, and we really wonder how we are able to live without that before. This is the first transmutation of our energies. Then we come to the last bit, Letters on Yoga by Sri Aurobindo. He says, a veil behind the heart, a lid over the mind divides us from the divine. So Mother's presence, two regions where we concentrate is in the heart and overhead. So a veil behind the heart. which stops us from seeing her. A lid over the mind divide us from the divine. Love and devotion rend the veil in the heart. If we approach the mother with love and devotion, this veil thins. In the quietude of the mind, the lid above thins. So love and devotion melt the veil in the heart. Silence of the mind thins the lid over the head. Keep the mind and heart open and turned inward and upward, so that when the touch comes from within or the flow from above, you may be ready to receive it. So we'll stop here. So let's just do a simple concentration on the Guru within. Guru Purnima is coming in a few days on Wednesday. So beautiful to move towards it, opening to the grace of the Guru. Not necessarily a Guru outside us, but the Jagat Guru seated in our own hearts. So gently put the right hand at the center of your chest, left palm over it. And however you conceive this Guru, this grace, see that image in your heart. The eternal friend who loves you unconditionally. No matter what you do, this one never stops loving you. Loves you even when you find it difficult to love yourself. So just see that image in your heart, and at the beginning of your exhalation, feel your body outline. As you exhale, soften the body outline towards this image in the heart, saying Nama. Surrender to this image. Inhale, let this image expand outwards through your body to the skin, saying Mitra. So you begin the breath not with the inhalation but with the exhalation. So exhale, soften from the body outline inwards towards this face, Nama, mentally said. Inhale, as if that image is giving out 1,000,000 sunbeams towards your skin, saying Mitra on the inhalation. So when you exhale and soften inwards with the word Nama, as if my whole being is saying yes to the presence of this Mitra within. And when I say yes, the Mitra pours outwards through my whole being. So exhalation, I'm softening the soil of my being, so that on the inhalation, the rain of grace can penetrate it. 1 minute like that. Three more breaths like that. In Savitri, there's a beautiful line When we find the Mother's presence within, we recover the lost habit of happiness. We make it a habit to be unhappy. But when we fall into this mitra within, we can rest. We actually recover the lost habit of happiness. So throughout the day, whenever I'm in the middle of an unhappy moment, 3 breaths or 6 breaths or 12 breaths like this, nama, softening inwards towards the mitra. Inhale, expanding outwards with the word mitra, and see how I actually become happier again. And I help an externally unhappy world the most by holding the vibration of happiness inside me so that it spreads. Hands in a namaste. Let's end with 3 Oms.